We begin the 7 o'clock hour, Fox and Friends, with a Fox News alert. We are now in the fourth and final day of a temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas.
And we're learning that both sides have concerns over the list of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners due to be released.
14 more Israeli hostages were freed yesterday, bringing the total number now to 40 over the last 3 days.
Meanwhile, Trey Yingst is live at Schneider Children's Medical Center in Israel, where it is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Trey?
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. For the third straight evening last night, a group of hostages was released by Hamas as part of this broader ceasefire deal. We're talking about 14 Israeli nationals and 3 Thai citizens. 9 children and 2 mothers were flown by helicopter to this hospital just outside of Tel Aviv, where they are receiving treatment at this hour. Among that group, 4-year-old Abigail Edon, an American-Israeli citizen. So often she was spoken about as a symbol of hope here in Israel and across the United States. Yesterday, President Biden speaking with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about her case. Both leaders just excited that she was out of Gaza and on that list yesterday. Now, today we've been speaking with family members of the children at Schneider's Children's Hospital about what this experience has been like for them, reuniting with their loved ones. Take a listen to this grandmother who describes what it was like to see her grandchildren after more than 50 days.
We hug them a lot, again and again and again. We cry a lot. We laugh a lot. It was like a circle that, like a wave, like a storm, you know. All the feelings flow up. It was amazing.
As the Israeli government works diplomatic channels to get more hostages out, we know that Israeli leadership is trying to show the world more about what happened in these small communities on October 7th. Today, Elon Musk visiting Israel alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The pair toured the small kibbutz of Kfar Aza along the Gaza border to see the aftermath of that massacre. Guys?
Trey, so today is the last day of the 4-day ceasefire, the original deal. And I was just looking at the Times of Israel, and it sounds like both sides are willing to talk about extending it, but the devil is in the details.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been talking with regional intelligence sources and also people directly involved in the negotiations. We know the Qataris and the Egyptians are working overtime today to try and get this deal expanded. The initial agreement says that 10 hostages would have to be released for every additional day that sees a pause in fighting. I do want you to listen to this government spokesperson who described what the next phase of this conflict will look like.
And we want to see the second stage of that agreement go into place to the extent that Hamas is interested to release more hostages. I've seen the reports that Hamas says that it can't locate all of them. That is, of course, horrific, beyond measure and beyond comment. And we expect, if Hamas is interested in extending that hostage release pause in exchange for an additional pause in the fighting, to get the list of the names it is wanting to release.
The Israelis are going to do everything possible to use these diplomatic channels and get hostages out of Gaza. But we have a firm understanding from the leadership that we've talked to and also members of the military who say that once this ceasefire is over, they will resume all ground and air campaigns against Gaza. Guys.
Trey, you're at the Schneider Children's Hospital. That's where we saw that young boy who's 9 years old run down the hallway into his father's arms. Hasn't seen him since this began on October 7th. I was reading one article that said they believe 11 will be released today. Is that correct information?
Yeah, we're being really careful with the lists because they've been changing so much. Hamas is using this as an opportunity to try and put psychological pressure on Israel. And they are very delicate negotiations. But when they are released, the children will likely be flown here again to Schneider's Hospital outside of Tel Aviv. And you mentioned 9-year-old Ohad. He celebrated his birthday, his 9th birthday inside Gaza. But once he arrived here, he was reunited with his father, and he just wanted to eat mashed potatoes and chicken. And we've heard that from a lot of the families. These are just kids. They're being kids. And that grandmother that we spoke with, she said, my grandchildren wanted pizza and they wanted iPads so that they could play games. And I think that really cuts through this horrific, horrific story. These are kids that were held for more than 50 days by Hamas inside Gaza. And finally, some of them are coming home.
And the thing is, Trey, and some of them get home, but there is no home. The whole town's been wiped out. And others, they have no parents, like Abigail. Both parents slaughtered in front of her. So, man, it's great to be free, but life has changed.
Absolutely. You think about 4-year-old Abigail, both of her parents were murdered on October 7th. And even that grandmother that we spoke with, her son was killed and one of her granddaughters was killed. And so while she was reunited with her other grandchildren today, this is still an incredibly, incredibly painful experience. Anyone who's ever lost a loved one, you know that feeling, the emptiness in your heart. And so many people across Israel are experiencing that still today. And so it's a mixture of emotions here at the hospital, reunited with loved ones, but also remembering that not every family member can show up because some of them are no longer here.
You know, Trey, I want to talk about the fairness of the deal. You know, the Qataris, the foreign minister, said that, you know, Israel was solely responsible for the escalation. They're a safe haven for religious terrorists as well in their country. So I wonder, is Israel getting a fair deal here? And has there been some criticism of that? I mean, they're like a sanctuary city for terrorism. Two of the Hamas leaders live there. They give them millions of dollars a year. Do the people of Israel feel like they're getting a fair deal?
They don't. And we should look at this deal and who's being released, right? It's a 3-to-1 ratio. So for every hostage that is released, the Palestinians will receive 3 prisoners that are being held in Israeli prisons. And it's a mixture of people. Some of them were in administrative detention that were going to be detained for around a year. Others were attempted car bombers, people who carried out stabbing and shooting attacks. And yesterday, I think, really highlighted the exchange. You had these children that are being held here looking to eat pizza. They were exchanged for a woman who tried to set off a car bomb in Israel years ago and was facing more years in her sentence. And that was the exchange for three Palestinian prisoners to 1 hostage. And so there is frustration among the Israeli people. Everyone that you talk to here, they say this is not a fair deal, but they're willing to do it because they want to get as many of those hostages out as possible, understanding that this war is not over. This is a pause in the fighting. Right. The conflict really is just beginning when you look at the timeline of what the Israelis have laid out.
All right. Trey, thank you very much. Live report from the Children's Hospital there in Israel. We're learning more about the people on the big screen who have been released. Also, we heard a story this morning about how somebody who's got dual Israeli-Russian citizenship, a fellow by the name of Ron Krivio, he was kidnapped from that rave. He's not on this big screen. He's still being held. His aunt told Israeli public radio that he was in a building that was shelled and then collapsed, and he tried to escape, and he did escape. And he was on the loose for 4 days. And then he was recaptured and hauled back into his lair somewhere.
That little girl, Abigail, that Brian was talking about, the 4-year-old.
She's on the bottom, right in the middle of the screen.
That's right. That's right. There she is. Abigail Edon. She's 4. She turned 4 when she was in captivity. She does have 2 siblings, a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old. They locked themselves in the closet for 14 hours while their mom and dad were shot in front of little Abigail. Abigail's dad shielded her with his body. She crawled out from underneath him, went next door to another little girl's house that she goes to preschool with. And that's when they were captured, and she was captured. And so thankfully, she's back with her family. She's an American and Israeli citizen, has both citizenships. She's going to live with her aunt and her uncle and her grandparents, where her siblings are now.
Right. They think it's equal change. You took a 4-year-old, you took an 85-year-old, and you're getting back people who are convicted criminals. So does anyone think this is equal out there? Those people shutting down Manhattan Bridge yesterday, do they think that was equal? The ones chanting KKK in front of the Museum of Natural History, do they think this is equal? You think that girl deserved to be captured as opposed to a 19-year-old who tried to kill Israelis? It's absolutely insane.
There is no comparison between the hostages and the people that committed terrorist acts. And I'll say this. I know that we have a base in Qatar, but they've known not to be honest brokers. I mean, this is the same people that gave Khalid Sheikh Mohammed a tip that we were going after him after 9/11. One of the guys that were the masterminds of it. So these aren't people that we can necessarily trust.
Well, and they're the ones who are negotiating. It's the Qataris and the Egyptians who are making this.
Hey,
possible.
there's a divide in the White House. Do you see they had an emergency meeting with Anita Dunn?
Yeah.
Wanted to meet to say you're too pro-Israel. Tone it down on your Israel, your doctrine. We don't believe that Israel's in the right here. And they continue to have huge problems in their own White House with their own people. Incredible.
Their own base. A lot of Democrats do not like the president's support of Israel. I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.